Welcome. How we doing, folks?
Pretty good.
Excellent. I am, as ever, very, very happy that we are here and that we have the opportunity for a little play. And even with the hope for social bomb of our last episode, I'm looking forward to seeing where the associates, the Gary Coterie, find themselves. Taking it that everyone remembers where we were. Everyone had the opportunity to give a quick perusal or reacquaint themselves with where we left off.
I have no idea where we left off at this point.
Fair. So a quick recap is in order. We won't start at the absolute beginning of the Gary Coterie. The foundational steps of what they were. Because it very much is a matter of what they were versus what they are and what they might become. Because in this loose association, this core group of the Gary Coterie, there are several decisions in the offing. There are several large tectonic shifts that need to be addressed. And when we left our coterie, when we left these group of kindred, they were presented with the undeniable facts of how they, the larger working political bodies, got to where they were. Some of the things that would have been discussed or would have been presented, though we didn't go into detail, was that Maxwell is in fact that Maxwell, the first recognized prince of the Camarilla for the city of Chicago. That Maxwell had years upon years ago attempted to do something heretofore unheard of. He was attempting to place his shoulder and his control in several different cities, one of them being Washington, D.C. Because of his split focus and the plotting and planning of the venture of Chicago, he was betrayed. He was laid low. He was taken out of position. The blow was such a one that his standing within the Camarilla as a whole was weakened to the point of non-existence. He has spent each night of those more than a handful of years plotting his reconquering of Chicago. It was a multi-step plan being worked against on several different layers at several different levels through several different cities. In the push for his usurpation of all that was the new standard of Chicago, several things fell into place. Namely, the foundation of a leadership that couldn't be touched because no one would know that it was there. It was the foundation of the idea that became the Shadow Kings. The same idea that he had for conquering multiple cities in the area was now applied specifically to Chicago and its outlying areas. Most of the barons most of the princes, most of the small dictators in the outlying areas of Chicago being supported by the nebulous and ill-defined unknown hand of the Shadow Kings. They have several baker's dozens of relatively loyal agents throughout the area. One of them at the time being Modius, who since betrayed the mission, since betrayed the cause. The other being unnamed. So much so that Gary brought their attention to the full weight of the initial leader of the Shadow Kings to them. He was responsible for Modius's disappearance. He was responsible for Juggler's disappearance. He was responsible for several other actions and incidents that had happened to the coterie as they were. The goal being a unified area in the surrounding lands of Chicago. That way they could apply the correct pressure to Chicago by controlling that borderlands that the collar counties and collar cities formed around that gleaming jewel, to control through negative space versus direct hands-on interactions. Now, as long as they've been around, they've had various acolytes, various applicants to their number, many of them falling by the wayside due to being well known or not ready for prime time. Some of the few working against them have in fact been the Tremere, who have carried out their own program that has at nearly every step countered or sought to counter the actions and inclinations of the Shadow Kings. And for the first time, a coterie, a group of kindred, have through their action and inaction presented a problematic behavior that needed direct attention. And so, here we are at Salacious in one of the sumptuous suites, normally appointed for the kiss and other lascivious activities. Now a meeting place where the coterie of Gary sits before one of the grand architects of the political upheavals and turmoils that have existed in the area since Loden's betrayal of Maxwell, all of those many, many decades ago. With that bombshell sitting there before them, with the truth of many of the subtle, insidious things happening in and around their cipher, happening to them, through them, and against them. There are several decisions that each of the members of the coterie must make for themselves and that the coterie must make as a whole. Because the one true fact is either act or be acted on. And if you give the agency of your continued existence without the fullness of your efforts and intentions, then you are nothing more than prey. You are nothing more than pawns being moved across a board that you have no idea where the boundary might be. The cost of such, the now revealed betrayal of Farmer, who had been diligently working at the behest of several masters he was not aware of. The fallout of Mason's death, the slow attrition of the constant back and forth between the Camarilla and the Anarchs throughout the area. All of those many things that could have been acted on but were not acted on. All of those things that could have been changed by the efforts of the gathered kindred. All those things that could have gone one way or the other, but due to their lack of action, went as they did. So, with all of that groundwork sitting there before us, with all of that, up until this point, unspoken realizations, I'd like to extend my thanks, because your efforts, your time, your energies mean quite a lot to me. They mean, well, not quite the entirety of the world, but they are a reprieve from it. This is my vacation. This is my getaway from the real world. This is my exploration of this hobby that we share, and it would not be possible without all of you. So, thank you, and thank you. And if we have any questions, concerns, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off, now is the time. Silence. Glorious silence. That means that we are all on the same page, if not in the same paragraph or the same line. That being the case, I would like to officially say that this, without a shadow of a doubt, is Steel Hearts, Rusted Souls, Season 5. The Sunlord's Shaken Pier. We pick up in the middle of the scene where we left our coterie with the atomic bomb of Maxwell sitting before them and regaling them with the tale of how they each and all got here. Not just the coterie specifically, but the city as a whole, the now undisputed Baron of Gary, and where all of those bright, shining tendrils of attention and action has led. Where all of the pressures put upon them, foisted into their path, all of the hurdles have led to. The race that they were running is now a different ball game in every definable way. There's a cost and a price to knowledge. There is a cost of doing business. And all of those bills are sitting on the table to be remitted as necessary. And having told his tale, Maxwell does the most stereotypical Ventrue thing to do. He sits back in his chair. He crosses one leg over the other and steeples his fingers midway between his chest and his lap. And he fixes you all with the steady, unwavering glare of someone who is aware of several other cards yet to be played. Waiting on your decisions, waiting on your conversation, waiting on what is it that you all would like to happen now.
I guess this would be a good time to say Nikki is actually back from the bath.
Yes, Nikki's been back for most 3/4 of the conversation.
Okay.
So, like, we can just go then?
If that's what you wish, if that's where you are standing, that flight is the most possible outcome. You may take your chances.
So what I'm getting from all this is that while we were living our lives every day, thinking that we had control over almost anything at all, it was actually this massive chess game that we didn't know was going on. Correct.
That is very litigiously and succinctly phrased. Yes, you all were pawns. You all were counted on by several individuals to make some of the decisions that you did, and your lack of decisions and the actions therein has brought you to the attention directly of myself. There was another that we thought was part of your number, but they escaped. As such, that cost us quite a bit. They sought succor and security with one who is outside of our direct reach currently. Farmer's actions have led you, unfortunately, into our crosshairs as potential enemies. Which brings us to now. There's no reason for us to be enemies when we can be allies. And for that to happen, you must be made aware as to what game it is that you are playing.
So his actions has turned us into enemies, even though he is not here.
Yes. His actions had turned you all into enemies. But that doesn't have to remain the case. That does not have to be our new normal. Your actions, our continued relations, I am hoping to be less antagonistic. But that decision is yours to make. And while it is a bit full of color, it is a bit pedantic, I do need your answer. This is a limited time offer.
Yeah, I always found it funny that he was always the one that was pushing us to make sure that our lovely Baron fell from glory. And kept digging and digging and digging at it, even when it didn't seem smart. But since he was the de facto leader for a while of this area, we listened. Maybe we should not have, I'm guessing now. You said inaction on other or our part, but I had only joined this group more recently. So
you personally directly joined this coterie of individuals most recently. However, your actions previous to that, business, as it were, was good for you. Your actions in supporting Farmer, helping him to set up the many alternate entities that we have scoured from the city, has proven to be quite a thorn.
Well, isn't it lovely that what I have helped to create, I can help to undo?
Yes, it would be quite appreciated. And speaking of appreciation, Haley, thank you very much for assuring that the one final piece was removed from the board. Your efforts in getting Arthur no longer amongst us deserves his own reward, so we will forgive your missteps with your sire. We will forgive the shambles you left them in, and we will forgive your I'm not familiar with the human social media, but I believe that you were known as the Twitcher vampire for quite some time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes. It seems as if that is your standard.
I'm not going to lie, that is pretty standard. I don't know what any of this is about. I don't know who any of these people you're talking about are. I barely even know who these people are.
It is amazing that even in death, many of us consistently and continually to fall upwards, to fail forward. Quite interested in how that works out for you. And speaking of failing forward and falling into a modicum of success, Nikki, we won't mention how many illicit activities you have been associated with. Your artwork gracing the skin of criminals both mortal and immortal. Your ties to the wider network of Volavods being a concerning piece of the puzzle.
Yes, I did artwork. And that's all I did.
There's a statement and a philosophy amongst the mortals that ignorance of the law is no excuse of the law. And your associations on multiple occasions have been quite thorny for us. We'd like you to use your powers for good, your associations for our betterment. But again, the decisions moving forward are yours, and yours alone. You all being who you are, who you have been, or our allies, our agents, working for the greater good of the land.
And how could I use my establishment for the...
So is that your decision? Questioning or deciding? Haley doesn't know, and you have questions. And you, Chi-Chi, you've all but said that you are game for what lay ahead. But as you all are the most vocal components of this particular coterie, the decision must be had before we continue our business. It is definitive and decides what relationship we will have going forward.
I am more than willing to help for the greater good, but unfortunately, telepathy is not one of my gifts.
Well, again, like you're pointing out, Nikki is on board as long as they get some sort of playbook, I'm assuming, and I agree with that. We would need some sort of outline, guidelines, so we don't go stepping on toes anymore, being on the wrong side of things.
Oh, excuse me.
Quite understandable. And the playbook, as you say, will be forthcoming for friends. If we are all of accord, I'd like to have you all enjoy your last evening as free agent provocateurs. I'd like you to find a way to ensconce yourselves into the reality of now. I'd like you all to take this moment, these moments, the remainder of this night, to get your houses in order. Because tomorrow evening, we begin directly as leadership and stewards for Gary. its outlying suburbs. And eventually, for Chicago. It is a great undertaking that has taken decades to outline the larger points of. It has taken nearly a century to finalize. And it would require your direct energies. You're saying, Nikki.
Also, there's another problem. I no longer have access to my beloved control. What will be done about that?
We assist allies. We help those who help us. The first state of business is getting you and your kind back up and operational. As an ally, as a friend, as an agent for the betterment of Gary and all that remains. Much like Salacious, there will be a change in management as your energies will be needed elsewhere. Much like our initial foray across the border into Illinois, its southern suburbs, to better right the ship there, to lead the Boulevard onto a path that works for us. Haley, your ability to fall forward and fail into success, to know and be known by those who are moldable. As a direct face and agent for the many points of pressure to be applied. And Gigi, your litigious mind and able to properly phrase a contract so that it is to our betterment are all aspects to which we would assist your continued building to increase your status amongst your peers and industry, to ensure that while you are known and known of, that you become much like us, a shadow, a ghost, the often spoken of in susurrus tones, but seldom seen directly. You all will be a power amongst the land. Not so different than what you are now. Rumors and hushed words spoken of those kindred, or as you all are known, the farmers. I don't like that name. We'll need to change it. But until then, your decision is that you're with us. Correct.
Am I being conscripted? I don't want to be a farmer. I don't want to be known as a farmer.
Yes, I don't like that name either. You all will need to change it and put something out there that's more evocative of who you all are, individually and as a unit. Your name as a group, your name as a singular entity is what will be your calling card. It will be the harbinger of your efforts for and against those that you choose. And as far as conscription, no, we don't believe in such things. Your willingness to assist the betterment is what we are after.
What does this sort of gig pay?
It pays in success, it pays in tertiary physical wealth, and it pays most pressingly for us in the blood of our enemies. And enough vitae to drown oneself in for the next century, if one wishes.
And I believe the frying print will be your continued existence.
If you're
I don't
worried
know,
about-
drowning.
Go on, Haley, you were saying.
I don't know, drowning in vitae sounds pretty good.
I thought as much. I enjoy it. It does wonders for the skin. As far as the stick is concerned, Nikki, or else, if you will, the fine print, if you will, we have as of yet taken steps to directly move against your efforts and your energies. We have as of yet applied the or else, but perhaps a show of what that might have looked like is in order. And with that, he stands, buttoning the top button of his blazer once more, smoothing his tie and pulling his cufflinks and adjusting his sleeves. If you will follow me. And he moves through the suite towards the back alcoves. Now, Salacious has been built on a model that was created by a notable member of the Toreador clan in the Chicagoland area. The Biscuiteers is a place that has been a speakeasy and a safety for all manner of partiers. Haley's been through there once or twice, but it's one of those situations where the party was actually that engaging and that thorough that she really doesn't remember much, except for you all came in the dark, you left in the dark, and the way in was not the way out. There were several hidey holes and several bolt holes that people disappeared into and came out of. It was a veritable maze. And Salacious has been being retrofitted with a similar ideology, a similar way to get people in without being seen by any who might be watching. You can still see that the construction is still undergoing, is still underway. However, the main hall that leads through the center of the maze and branches off into several different, some of them blind, some of them actually following all the way through pathways. However, unlike that very old speakeasy, that very old dive, Salacious, its tunnels, its egresses are demarcated. And that's one of the things, that one of the many flaws about trying to better something that had lasted for decades, for a near century. The symbols that are on the wall as you all follow along with Maxwell denote which tunnel you are in, which makes it a little easier to follow, but also a lot easier if you were invading or otherwise compromising the situation. Small little things that stand out as, that could be better. As you all follow those symbols, you smell the lake. You smell a large body of water that is known as the Inland Sea. You find yourself in the basement of a clear home. The wood is old and dust covered. It is the sort of place that could be underneath or above any house in the area. It's good old standard Midwestern building. It's wider than it probably should be, a little taller than it should be. The rafters for the floor above clearly standing out as having been there for years. It is easily a 24 by 24 instead of a 2 by 4 or a 4 by 4. It is a 24 by 24 joist that's holding a good portion of the weight. There's no steel or aluminum. It is all good old fashioned Midwestern building from the good old bad old days where the place was dug out mostly by hand and shovels versus a big excavator. Sort of place that was built in and supported along the way as this was built out. As you all make your way through the slightly darker than it needs to be basement, to the far end of it, there's a coffin, a full-fledged coffin, not the new rectangular boxes of polished wood and plastic lined with velvet. No, this is an actual proper coffin that fits the basic outline of a human form. meaning that it is quite old. And he lifts the lid. And inside is a desiccating corpse. But not any desiccating corpse. Gigi has been in Gary long enough to have had the blessing of Modius. Nikki also long enough in the city to know what Modius looks like. And this is as if they took Modius and gave him a modern makeover. His hair is well coiffed, the facial hair clipped and trimmed, and knowing what you all know about kindred physiology, you know that this is something done nightly. That means that someone is taking care of this desiccating corpse. This torpid kindred body is being fed vitae, is being cleaned and cared for on a nightly basis. One of the many things that most don't quite get about torpor, unless of course you've been victim of it, is that you are aware. The world still comes to you in whispers and visions. You get the scent of the world around you. You get the sound of the world around you. And if you are not lucky enough to have someone close your eyelids, you see the world around you. So even as your body slightly wastes to its death point, where it looks like what it is, a corpse, you are aware, trapped, unable to interact, unable to do anything. And your beast and you watch the world, listen to the world, smell the world, and can feel even the light breeze upon your dead skin. And this is what is being done to the former Prince of Gary. The former prince who, after years of seclusion, after years of not caring, sought to reassert themselves, sought to reclaim the power that is hinted at by being a prince. And as he lifts the lid, and you all look on what happens, what one of the potential or else's could be, Maxwell asks, will this suffice, or do you need to see what happened to Juggler?
I was merely implying that there was or else. I did not see this, but since I've seen it, I believe I could do much better as an or else. Why don't you give me one of the bodies and I can show you what's my kind of one?
I am very happy that you believe that we have not properly vetted you all, and believe that it is a point in your favor that you believe that we have not researched and investigated and paid more direct attention to your reach, to your ability to act as agents of change. We are aware of what you all bring to the table.
I don't know, love. The fact that you're willing to rely on me for anything is quite a sus.
I actually do have one question. Would I be able to make... what would I be looking for other than walkers? Detail would be a good word. Would it be permissible for me to create a detail? In your service, of course. Since you've done your research, you know what I mean.
That is the beauty of language. It is not only what is said, but the implications of such. as an agent in our employ, as an agent of our friendship, there, of course, is all the largesse one would need to operate to the fullness of their abilities. If your indication that your actions may not be appreciated.
I will do what is required of me.
Good.
I believe prove it. How would you like me to do that?
There are several tests along the way to prove your loyalty, to prove your dedication, and to prove that this gambit is not a failing one. But initially, the first thing is to ensconce yourself into your particular niche, to reassert your dominance over those of similar mind and inspiration as yourselves, to bury yourselves into the environments to which you have profited and to which you have aspired. And he looks to Haley, meaning your chaos, your seeking of pleasure, and those that would end their existence so long as they have but one more opportunity to destroy their brain cells or rack their body into nothingness for that sensorial release. And all those who feed and feast and need those individuals to satiate a portion of their beast. And then he looks to Gigi and those who need your assistance and your ability to properly contractually obligate others to hide their hand behind countless shelf and shell companies to while away in the dark. And he looks to you again and your ability to associate with the most there's no polite way to say it, the individuals to which you have served, the individuals that appreciate your particular artistic pursuits, individuals both legal and illegal who seek you out, who have sought you out, who rely on your close proximity to the illicit, the illegal, the tantalizing. All of those many pokers, all of those many threads being tied together towards a singular goal is the aims of this all.
So, in short, just do what we've been doing.
Yes, though now with purpose, now with an aim, now with the support that you all should have as a coterie of respected members of our number.
Gigi's been listening to what he said, and she's like been looking at him every time he's speaking. But anytime he speaks to somebody else, her eyes drift back to the coffins because she has just been. She's dark in her head. There are things that happen and go on, but this is just like a little bit much. So she's just kind of like, yeah, I know where my bread's buttered. There is no or else for me. looking to Nikki. So, darling, we've heard his pitch. We've seen the all else. I think we are both fairly in accord.
I believe I've said this multiple times. How many more times? I'm in.
Well, then we are in, I guess.
Everyone understands that speaking of the devil, he shall appear. Everyone understands that there's a power in the spoken word. Hearing your name on a lover's lips, hearing what you mean to someone that means much to you, being called by an enemy, or just that annoying person that you would rather not know that you existed, because you pray that they never do continue existing. And while he doesn't speak on it, while he doesn't address it, he looks directly at Haley as two of the present three say, yes, they are it. And he waits, slipping his hands for the first time out of view into his pockets and standing next to the coffin. No smile, no smirk, no frown, no glare, just a considering appraisal.
Why is everyone looking at me? Is it about the thing? What I got to do then?
I believe the children of today use the phrase that your word is your bond. And as such, without it, it is not contractually enforceable. So we have a we're in from these two. The matter rests with you.
I mean, I could give you my word, but a wise man also on the day side said, never trust a junkie.
And
So, I mean, I don't mind. If you're going to drown me in vitae, I'm all for it, love.
excellent. Then we are of an accord. The first order of business is having you all while your way away. Enjoy what remains of your evening, because tomorrow is the first night of the rest of your forever. You all will be captains of your particular industries. You will be forces to be reckoned with, and you will have our support. That, as I stated previously, comes at a cost, and that cost are many tests along the way. And we will consider this a fait accompli. We will consider this a matter done. You all may contact me further through Baron Stevens. You may contact us further through Tyven. You may contact us further through Silk. And we will contact you as we know all of the places where you lay your head. Kindred, good evening. And with that, he leaves you all in the same room with the coffin, knowing that you all are far brighter than most would give credit to, due to various reasons, sexism and various other isms. The one thing that he has not done and would not do is ever discount or devalue another's intelligence and them seeing themselves out. And with that, he leaves you all to the quietude of the basement, to the still existing kindred that many have believed completely non-existent. He leaves you in a space where you all would be able to discern much about the organization, much about the people involved, and more pressingly, you are left in the presence of kindred that can't do anything to stop you from doing whatever it is that your heart might discern.
So, what was that all about then?
In short, darling, he was showing us how big his stick was.
So, I did get conscripted.
In a manner of speaking. I must admit I would enjoy going back to my cathedral. I have missed it so. And if it is in the betterment of kindred, why not?
Who you kidding? It ain't the better of all kindred. It's the betterment of those specific ones. But
I know, darling, I know.
thing is, you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to fuck to run.
Wait, what are we holding?
Our lives, Shotzi, our lives.
And hopefully not the bag.
So, is it the time where we walk away or the time where we run?
And run to where, exactly.
Yeah, we're kind of stuck holding and folding right now.
Never forget that we are pawns. We are just merely being moved to another spot on the board.
It sounds more like we're being promoted to rooks and knights at this point in time, but I could be wrong. I was never much of a chess player. More backgammon, my speed. Anyway. So, anybody else curious about these whole weird used to be princes or whatever they were, used to be leaders they got down here?
What do you want to know?
Well, not much anything, but I mean, they gotta have some serious information stored inside there somewhere.
I think it's a trap.
Probably. But a trap to which end? Us doing something to them to harm them, or somehow setting them free? Which would be the trap?
Set them free for what?
Exactly.
Why can't they all be the trap?
Well, since I don't think I have permission to do what I want with them, I will leave them be.
I mean, I don't recall him saying we could just have them, but I also don't recall him saying that we could not just have them.
He did say that we should continue to do what we do to use X to their advantage.
Well, in that case, I think we'd be more useful upstairs harassing Toppin, because he is fucking annoying.
She'll look down at the prince and say in German, "You would make an excellent gargoyle. Perhaps later."
the moment that you actually make contact with those liquid, clear, bright blue eyes that stand out as if they're lit from within by some fire, causing them to slightly flicker, there's the feel of a hand sliding across the skin. There is the subtle pressure of a lover breathing in your ear. And each of you feel a weight beginning to fall over your mind. A weight that says, here is safe. Here is warmth. Here, there's no worries about the rest of the world. It's not quite a siren's call because it's far too deep and far too bass-filled. But it is alluring all the same. It's that initial blush, that initial creep of once the needle pierces the skin and the poison of the drugs begin to slowly pull you under its weight to get you floating along on the sea of bliss. If you all would be so kind as to resist if you would like, or to remain as you are, nice and safe here in this basement. Your difficulty is there in the roll dice channel. You may resist with your resolve. If you have fortitude and that helps as well. Or if you have a wiliness and a presence to yourselves, you may use that as well.
Is there resolve? Resolve and what? Just resolve?
Yeah, resolve plus either subterfuge, or you can use your resolve plus presence, or you can use your resolve plus fortitude.
I feel like if Haley had the capacity to resist this thing as you've described it, that she wouldn't be in this basement right now.
Just because you have the ability doesn't mean that you use it. And just because you don't use it doesn't mean you don't have it. The question is, in this moment, will Haley resist the allure that is brought on by something else? Because it is not the eighth or the gram or the ounce that she's purchased. It is something being foisted on her. It very much is the pernicious lack of agency. It is very much something else attempting to determine who and what she is. It is very much the effects of some other entity grabbing her by her shortened curlies and attempting to lull her into, well, you know how that story ends. That's how you ended up dead to begin with.
Is somebody trying to dominate us?
We don't talk about Bruno.
Well, no, I mean,
Roller's not working.
well, if that's the case, then Nikki would know.
You can go ahead and roll your using the @ symbol, because I'm not sure why it's being an ass. Sorry about that.
So it's at dice roll.
You have to @ the third spot to get it to act right, because the realm of darkness seems to not like us as of late. Not sure why it's still doing that.
So resolve and subterfuge, you said?
Yes.
Also, I don't have permission to view message history, so I don't know what you wrote as the difficulty there.
That makes no sense. Why is
I believe it's-
in ours?
It's difficulty 2, right?
3.
Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Oh. Nice one, Gigi. Rounds for this. I don't know why I couldn't have felt it. Oh, shit. Oh, yay.
Oh my God, this could be the first time in her life that Haley has resisted something.
I don't think that she actually has resisted anything except for someone harshing her mellow. And while it's not on the surface a harshing of her mellow, in fact, it is the siren song of something attempting to pull her further into a mellowed out state against her will. It's that trip that promises to be good, but you know that it is made of the most garbage of chemicals. It is determined to give you your hangover in advance. It's that sort of promise that she's resisting. Because it is not by choice that she drank the Kool-Aid. Someone else is literally forcing her to do so. And that's the problem. Something else is forcing her to leave the moment.
Yeah, that's why I rolled, because it's got shades of her sire, so...
See what it pictures like to me in my head is I'm getting a picture of Haley's brain in my head, and it's like super slippery, and whatever's happening is getting thrown at it, and it's just sliding right up.
It is so much coming at once. There's so much being thrown at you all, from the conversation with Maxwell to the realizing that Baron Stevens had support that wasn't part of the city, to all of the strings being pulled by others, people playing you all for sass, people playing you all for fools, and worse. And then the feeling of all of that safety and security being forced on you, your beast screams in annoyance. Your conscious mind says, what the... And you realize that the source, almost instantaneously, like a fire catching from one to the next, like something contagious, you all look into the coffin of the prince. It's blank, dead stare with those bright blue eyes looking through you all, looking to you all. And you realize that that feeling, that attempt to grab hold of your minds and your hearts, is originating from that desiccating corpse, that even staked and held in a torpor-like state, that there is a pernicious evil, a very willingness to use you all to its own ends happening. There's a force coming from it.
I get to use that line. Yay!
Once feeling that, turns and looks at Danielle. Oh, bless your heart. You do realize we could kill you, but we won't. I think it's better you stay in the box. I'm gonna go upstairs and have a drink, ladies.
Someone's trying to bad touch my thinky parts.
Nikki will put her hands over his eyes. Did you just try to dominate me, darling? That was so stupid. It was almost cute. Almost. I'll be back for you. She'll put the lid back over his coffin.
As every kindred present save Haley is old enough to know what the sound of a phone being slammed down feels like. That's what happens when the lid is closed. There is still that light touch and attempt to creep into you, but it has all the power of a leaf being blown by the wind brushing against your shoe. The lid was the slamming down of the receiver. The lid cut off its because it's no longer a he. It is the presence that was and is Modius, deprived of all ability to connect with the world around it, but be victim to it. In that moment of the lid slamming down with everyone's quiet, careful rebuke, it is the greatest act of impotence that you all have ever been witness to. The last dying embers, the cough and gasp of the empire that never quite made it, of the city that had a prince, officially, but was ruled by the anarchs, of a city with a permanent boot on its neck, of a prince much the same.
Wait a minute, fuck this. She is feeling salty. Let me look this up real quick.
So with that kind of being done, Gigi is going to turn and go back the way they came, opening the door. Or was the door ever closed, or was it open always to get out?
No, the doorway across the basement back through the tunnel into Salacious has never been closed. The one thing that you all realize is that if Maxwell had traveled that direction with the sound of his footfall ahead of you, leading you into this space, if he had traveled back across that hall through that maze, you would have heard him. Instead, when he left, the one thing you all heard was the opening and closing of a door, a latch catching. But that path, there's no door. There's no thing to keep you all from hearing him still travail the distance. And yet, the architecture of the basement that you are in is different than the architecture of Salacious. You are literally in a house somewhere away from Salacious. Salacious is through that tunnel, through that maze, and back up and in. The question now is whether you all return back to Salacious or you choose not to investigate or look or seek another way to leave.
Looking to the other two. Well, they said we got the rest of the night to get ourselves in order before we do this whole joining up thing he had planned. So, shall we go back to Salacious? Or do we want to look around here and try to find ourselves something else to get up to?
I mean, I know all manner of miscreants, so I could make some phone calls.
So, is his eyes is open, right?
Inside that coffin? Yes. Inside the lid of the coffin? Yes, they are.
Okay. She ain't gotta look at him. Please let that be. She's not gonna look at the coffin, but she will open it, and she is going to she is going to seal his eyes shut. Say it, dude. She's salty. And once she does that, she's going to close the coffin back.
So as you all are talking about leaving, Nikki is busily humming to herself. And the sound of the lid opening is unmistakable. To make matters worse, the feeling that you all had moments ago, returns with a vengeance. To make matters worse is while Nikki is busily humming, the sound of something wet and far too moist being manipulated is apparent. If you all watch on, many believe that the Shemich, his ability is much like molding clay. And for those with considerably more skill, it can seem that way. But at base, it is literally the manipulation of the muscles and sometimes skeletal portions of the living. In this case, it is just the flesh and the muscles of the eyelids. But in this case, it makes it all the worse because those eyelids, while dead and desiccating, and moister than they should be due to the vitae still inside the corpse. It's wet paper, moist and mucky beneath Nikki's grip, her touch. And the worst thing is she's purposely looking away to mar and misshape things. It's watching the most grotesque happenings as her fingers come away with bits and sloughed off pieces of the dried, desiccating muscles of the former Prince of Gary's face. As she moves things and absently, purposefully not watching exactly where her hands are, seals them. The eyelashes being moved and slurred like a line being erased by a wet pencil. The paint not quite set before someone decides to touch the image. And so while sealed, it is an example and a reason why many fear the Voivode. It is an example and a reason why many, especially those of the Toreador, find themselves horrified at the idea of an unskilled Tzimisce, of an unskilled dragon having their way with them.
Sure. Once he lives satisfied and look to those, he'll never do that again, I promise you. Now, ladies, shall we?
I don't even want to know, do I?
No, girl, you don't. Remind me to never make you mad, Nikki, please.
Oh, please, Gigi, I love you, darling. Now I feel better. Shall we enjoy our last night of freedom?
I do like to enjoy things.
That's what we were trying to figure out to do, whether we wanted to go back to the club or look around this place and see if there was something upstairs, maybe.
After dealing with him, I don't know what the others are. Well, I'm game with whoever you ladies. I've had my fun for the night.
There's a scent that's called cordite. It's the smell of burning flesh. It's a scent that stays with you. It's a scent that even if you have never personally experienced it, you know that scent isn't normal. You understand that scent is very much the signal that things are not right in the world. Having watched Nikki manipulate another entity's being, that's what your mind is smelling. There's no scent there, but there is very much that real weight of knowing that something wrong was afoot, and it sticks in the mind, especially how easily the flesh of that powerful old kindred, that prince level kindred, was manipulated, held like a baby by torpor and the stake in its chest. It is a lesson. There's a saying that's used, there before the grace of God go I. And therein lies the rub of it all, because as you all make the distance back into Salacious, the partiers that Haley had gathered and were waiting in the antechamber of the suite, still partying in the eliteness of it all. Because while there is the public VIP area that is more show than go, the suites are for those kindred and those few mortals with the social, financial, and mental currency necessary to denote and demand themselves as local royalty. while the Pisketeers adheres to all manner of celebrity and treats nearly everyone with that same level of elite exceptionalism, Salacious is not. Salacious it very much is about what's in your pocket. It's very much about who you know and who you can control to get those sweets. They are the top 1% of the top 1%. It is a sign of wealth, either social standing wealth or actual full-fledged wealth. And a strange combination of the two that allow one to have access to a suite, especially one of the reserve suite that are all but secure from everything save an actual onslaught of a tactical team. So as you all make your way back down the hall into the suite and into the open spaces of the suite that was reserved for this meeting, the clamoring of Haley's gathered associates in the antechamber, the oohs and ahs, as even in the antechamber, they are privy to the level of service that kings and queens could expect. The playthings, the blood freaks, the paid donors making themselves at home amongst the gathered. The night is nowhere near young enough for you to test the full limits of those gathered, but it is early enough in the evening that there's nothing but pleasure and potential pleasures ahead for you all if you so choose.
Well, potential pleasures or Haley's bag.
And Gigi is going to park themselves in part of the suite, but then they're going to use the landline because obviously cell phones are bad when you're on Sombra. And they're going to reach out to their assistant, the one that they sent on vacation that little while ago, and call them back so that they can start the process of reopening their office, basically, as part of this whole plan of reestablishing themselves.
Well, if Gigi will allow it, Nikki will join her. She will sit away from her because she knows she's a little get on her cell phone and call the person call the woman she had in charge of the cathedral flesh. We're opening it again, darling. Be prepared. That's our only message. You know what to do.
There's a before and after moment with most things. There's the way things were, or the way that things were believed to be, and the way things actually are. When you find what those moments are and what those instances can be, it is usually a troubling moment, a stumbling moment, when you realize that the water is deeper than you thought, or colder than you expected, or that there are more things happening to and around you than you had previously believed. So having the small successes of being able to while away the night in the arms and presence of those who are drug-addled, with lives that are meant to burn out quicker than candles being lit from both ends, and with the easy success of reaching out to the associates that would help initialize and reinitialize your businesses. It is, while a night of not true victory, because it's not something, a battle that was fought is not something that a great, standing on the bridge, keeping the army at bay, or dying as a shield maiden, nothing so vainglorious as those epics. It is a night of success. the promise of being able to dive back into who and what you believe yourself to be, there's no more potent of an allure to be as you were created to be as you believe yourself to be the truer essences of yourselves. It's palpably pleasurable. You can taste it. And at the moment of greatest pleasure, that sigh of release. Tithe and interest. Well, I suppose that I should get this back to you now that the business has been settled. Baron Stevens sends her regards. She had to leave. This is for you, girlfriend. And he hands your credit card back. It's as close to an apology as you might ever receive. It is as close to an admission of perhaps I might have been almost potentially wrong as you will ever receive. And it's not enough. And it's perhaps a little too much too soon. You knew the money was there. You knew that everything was fine. But there's something about it that immediately triggers the spidey sense of where is the other shoe? When will it fall?
She takes the card, but she looks him very closely up and down. I can't help but feel like you up to something.
Oh, don't be so paranoid. At all.
It's only paranoia if there aren't people out to get you.
We are kindred, darling. Yes, everyone out.
Well, I don't know about your life story, but I assure you that no one is out to get me. Everyone would know better than that anyway. However, have been informed and instructed that your evening is my responsibility to make sure that you have the time of your own lives this particular evening. As such, I suppose I may have been a bit premature in discounting what it is that you all brought to the table. But as you all stated, we are kindred. These things are bound to happen. And as such, you will, of course, be understanding. Correct?
Ja, darling. Ja.
Instead of responding, typically, Gigi's going to give him a smile. But it's one of those smiles that basically, if a tiger could smile before it tips open the plexiglass of its cage, it's one of those. Just kind of looks up at him, grinning. Understood. Most definitely.
Family don't speak, darling.
And I suppose I should preface this next statement very carefully. And he looks at the gathered partiers and to Haley. I believe that you are part of their number. Maybe we should pull ourselves away for a moment. Just a few seconds of your time so that I can ensure that you all have the greatest opportunity for success going forward, knowing who you all had the opportunity of speaking with and all. suppose there's things that we should probably discuss.
I imagine Haley is oblivious to everything that's going on there and is singularly focused on other things.
Oh, she is. Because here's the thing. As per the lesson that the party lead was attempting to give you, not that it applies to Kindred, he was absolutely correct. That the vodka worked as a balancing agent versus the pharmacological means they were using to bolster themselves. It acted as a counterpoint to keep those smart enough to engage from getting too high too fast. Much like Icarus flying too close to the sun and crashing into the waves below to drown. However, not every member of the party, one, received that message and that lesson, or worse, heeded it. So, as she is, the connoisseur of those who are back of Beyond Gone on their DLC, Haley is in hog heaven because every little small nip, every little small inhalation is filled and rife with the full bounty of pharmacological pleasure. There are certain members that have given themselves over to the full release of blacking out while still being cognizant. That blackout that only comes from imbibing to the point where the only way to get sober, the only way to find your sobriety is to dive further in instead of trying to swim up and out. Or to quote the kids, oh, you gonna party. And that's exactly where her chosen members actually are. They are back and beyond gone. So much so that they're giving blood to each other. Oh my God, it feels so good. Try this. You know, don't suck hard. Just a little bit. There we go. Oh, yeah. And as is the case with having alcohol-laden wounds, their blood flows freely. Their only need and want of pleasure. They are only their vices speaking through them. So much so that gone are the electronic vapes they were using, and out has come the actual hand-rolled joints of various recipes. Out has come those actual full-fledged real cigarettes that are stinking and smoking up the place. You are sure Tyven normally would be having a fit over such a thing, because this is not one of the sweets that was designed for smoke. But whatever it is that he has to say, or whatever it is that he wants to say, seems to be taking precedence. Is she not one of you all? Is she not on the same level as you all are?
Problem is, darling. Yes, she's one of us, but anything you tell her is probably not gonna stick. So you're gonna have to talk to us and we'll pass it along when she's a little more aware of her surroundings.
I see. Well, knowing as who you all were meeting with and understanding what that actually means, I would like to be one of the little birds whispering sweet nothings in your ear so that you all can feed as you need to. You all are aware of Modius's child, right? Alicia.
We were made aware, yes.
Well, she was good friends with Arthur. And since he has been missing, and the word on the street is that Baron Stevens herself is the reason why Arthur is missing. And the last person seen with Arthur is a purple-haired kindred they believe is the assassin who was used to ash Arthur. They have taken that personal, like Michael Jordan. And they have aligned themselves with an anarch from across the border, somebody calling themselves Forcipules. I don't know why, but every would-be 10-potted despot dictator wants to take on some Greek name, but that is the name that he has taken on. He and his anarchs and Dustborn have been seen taking up with Alicia. And if I'm not mistaken, and I really am, they will be coming for you all fairly shortly. 2 of their members were seen here earlier tonight. Had I known who they were, I might have kept them from entering, but everybody's money spends mostly the same way.
Do they know what we look like? Or just Haley?
That I cannot be sure of. I grant everyone the privacy they need to enjoy themselves, provided they have the money to make sure that that is the case.
I could rectify them identifying her, but it would have to be both. I believe this is where my talents would come into play. Wouldn't you agree?
I don't know what your talents might be. Tattoos are so déclassé these days. It's a greater sign of rebellion to not have them than to, well, as everyone has several, to have them propagating the flesh. After all, every time you mar God's handiwork, you are in fact saying that perhaps he is not God and perhaps he has made a mistake. There's a certain beauty and grace to what has been brought, but I suppose each to their own, if you want to be regular or worse. But I'm just passing along the word. You all have yourselves an enjoyable evening. You all understand what I understand. I will get out of your hair as this room has been taken care of for the next 2.5 hours, of course. Is there anything that I might do as host and master of the house?
You have been more than gracious. Thank you.
Excellent. You all have yourselves a time. And Tyven, as masculine as he is, as frail and feminine as his form is, all but saunters out as if he's a 10-gallon, 10-plated cowboy of old. There is a machismo there that will not be denied, and is just as laughable on his small, frail form that is more feminine than masculine.
The minute he leaves, Nikki will lean into Gigi. He is totally misguided if he thinks that tattoo is the only thing I can do. And she kind of like holds her arm up and kind of like stands for a second and turn and sits down and looks at Gigi. My best work, if I may say so myself.
Agreed, darling, but you know that one couldn't see his way out of a paper bag with a 50 lumen flashlight.
But about Haley, I could alter her appearance.
I mean, her brain's already altered, but
Need her physical appearance so that she would be more difficult to locate.
I do have a strong feeling that even though they know what Haley probably looks like, that they knew that Haley was also seen in our presence. So that doesn't mean that it would be scot-free if we were to change what she looks like. I still think we probably know how to handle ourselves more than anything. Besides, I doubt they'd go starting a fight in silks. Unless they're truly stupid. There are some precautions I'm sure we could take. Yes.
I've learned in my lifetime to never underestimate. But I will be aware. Also, I've been thinking about how I could use my business to benefit the new powers. Of course, I do take money for myself, but I also do works in boons and information. I'm pretty sure I could find something useful.
I don't doubt that at all. Gigi very carefully walks their way to Haley and kind of gets in between them and whoever they're currently snacking on. Not getting like all up in their grill, but just getting eye line. Hey there, darling.
What, you want some?
No, I'm good, thank you. But your friend Arthur, apparently him being, well, not on this mortal coil anymore, has made somebody very, very upset, and they think you did it. And they might be coming trying to get their lickbacks. So we might want to figure out what to do with that there situation.
Well, I didn't fucking do it. It was the tree people.
I know, I was there. I'm aware of that fact. But do you really think if we were like, hold it, we didn't do it, it was the tree people, they would pause and shake hands and go away nicely?
Under normal circumstances, I would say no, but I'll have a way with people.
The worst thing is, and here's the thing that makes it even, that adds injury to insult. Being completely honest, Haley has seldom ever actually lied. But the moment that she explains that, even out loud in this moment, she's even inclined to actually doubt her words. Like the tree people. Wait a minute. It sounds exactly as real as everything said by every politician who has ever run for office for the last 50 plus years. It's something that you know that if you shit in one hand and wished in the other, that both hands would be just covered in shit. It sounds as trustworthy as a castle built of words in the sky above your head. And this is with Haley being altered back and beyond gone, and knowing that she's never actually lied. She's twisted the truth, but she's never actually lied, partially because she doesn't remember to.
I think it'd be alright, love. I'll just explain what happened.
If you're going to do that, you might want to find hurting tree people, perhaps a cult.
Well, you were there. They were a cult of tree people.
They were a cult that worshipped a demon that resided inside of a tree. What you say is very important. If you say the tree people, yes, you come off as a lunatic. Put more description into your words, please.
I mean, coming off as a lunatic has merit.
I don't think it would in this case. These people are out to kill you.
They didn't want to kill me, really. They want to kill who killed Artie, and it wasn't me.
Okay.
Again, I'm pulling out the fact that they might not be willing to listen to reason at all.
My lifetime, darling, I've seen killed for suspicion of things they've done and did not do.
I get where you're coming from, but look, you need to understand, when we were in the town with the tree people, What's-His-Face, who escaped from the house where you accidentally broke one of the vessels, was also not reasonable and didn't believe anything, but I swayed him, did I not?
Yes, you did. I will not take that from you, but he didn't have an active reason to want to kill you.
I mean, having an active reason to want to kill me doesn't mean they can't be swayed to see the reason and the truth.
Yes, but these people do have some power. And unfortunately, people in power also think they are infallible.
Oh God. She's and you hear the, oh my God, hang on, I got some Narcan, hang on, and the edge of the few who were chosen to come back and party in the antechamber at Haley's disposal. You watch as they begin to gather around, and some of them are standing. She's faking. There's no way that was. And then you see what they're talking about. The young lady who initially tried to exert her will and be the queen bitch of the situation, but began towing the line the moment Haley proved herself to be a far more elite partier, had snuck into the group, had been partaking, and had been associating, and it was clear that she had been doing so for far longer than she should have, because she is convulsing, and the wound along her neck is not one caused by Haley. It is one of those caused by the other group, where the nick of the pocket, the penknife, was a little too deep, and so her blood is trailing down her neck, puddling underneath her as she's convulsing and going into a seizure because of the drugs coursing through her veins. Blood loss and drug use and alcohol use is never a good mix, and while many survive that Russian roulette of soon brought upon death, others, such as this one, do not. And as she is convulsing and bleeding out, the others are standing around, and one person who yelled they had the Narcan actually does produce a syringe filled with some liquid that is clearly designed to counteract the effects of drug use. And he's rushing towards her as if he's seen this on the movie before. He's crouching over her and raising the syringe high above his head. And hold her still. I need to get it right between the ribs. Come on, hold her still.
Do you know where the heart is, darling?
What? Yeah, it's right here in the middle of the chest. Come on, hold her. Help me. We don't want her to die here. At least let her die at the hospital. Come on. People are, what? Yeah, okay. Most of them with small bite marks or not quite completely sealed wounds. Some of them caused by the same penknife that was used on this one, and some caused by people actually trying to give themselves hickeys to make it seem as if they were bit. Others just, what?
Okay, at this point, even if we seal the wound, she still going to die, or is sealing the wound going to be enough?
I think she's ODing.
She is.
Can Nikki give it a shot?
Give her a shot at what?
Whatever that is that dude is holding in his hand. I'm believing that's the stuff that's gonna jumpstart her heart.
So you're gonna take the syringe from him and do it yourself?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh God. What am I rolling?
Well, we have your intention. You give me a second. We're gonna move around. Gigi, watching this happen, watching Nikki move forward and take the syringe. Is there anything that Gigi is intending? And the same question for Haley. Watching this happen, is there anything that either of the two are intending?
Despite the fact that I know that the ODing is part of the problem, Gigi is going to seal the major wound that she's leaking out of, because blood loss is not going to help the situation at all.
Jesus, I'm on a roll. I'll just rouse for whatever action Nikki is. Well, she's going to give her the adrenaline shot.
So you're taking the syringe and you're going to rouse your strength so that you can make sure that you puncture through the rib cage properly so that you can deliver directly into the heart. And as you're preparing to aim and swelling yourself with tempting the beast forward, Gigi is attempting to seal the wound. And while Gigi is attempting to seal the wound, what is it that Haley is doing?
Because Haley is so degeneratively fucked up in ways that they don't even understand yet, she's going to use Share the Senses on the dying girl. Because, how often do you get to feel someone die?
Well, now. So, in order of roll, Nikki, go ahead, roll Share the Senses. I didn't bring that formula up just yet. It's going to take me a second.
That's a what?
Not Nikki, I'm sorry. Haley, roll Share the Senses to connect with her. There is no resistance, just don't fail. Gigi, roll your Wits plus Medicine. And Nikki, roll your Strength plus Melee. Less than 3 successes and you will do damage because you are puncturing the person with this syringe much like you would a dagger.
Alright, so anything less than 3?
Yes.
Alrighty.
Wow. Okay.
I would argue though. Could I have used medicine since she was actually one, because she has dots of medicine. She would know what the heart was.
Yeah, of course you know what the heart is. Why it's literally about making sure that you puncture through the chest without actually causing any additional harm. Because while everyone believes, the person that called out what they were doing, believes that's what's in the syringe. That is not exactly what's in the syringe.
God.
Remember, Haley told you a little earlier this evening, the common understanding: never trust a junkie. And that includes for your pharmacological needs. Because while they believe what they have is Narcan, which is completely and totally harmless to those who don't have opioids in their system, it is not in fact Narcan. It is in fact the opposite of Narcan. While they called it Narcan, it is in fact a hot shot. It is a huge hit of heroin and cocaine mixed together.
Oh, wait, she's dead.
It is designed to pick you up when you are down. It is designed to make sure that you will never be at want, at a loss. So it's when you're having the DTs and you're going through withdrawals, it is there to, well, make sure that you're okay. You can ride it out a few days longer without giving in, having your muscles tear themselves free of their moorings. And as that hit, as you drive it home into the heart of this one, as the shock and seizures ease to a mild vibration, as the saliva glands work overtime, as the eyes, the irises, the pupils, they become smaller than pinpricks. She's taking in the light of the very world all in one fell swoop. She's able to see sound. She's able to feel color. Her senses are sharpened and heightened to the point where she can see the future unfolding before her. She sits up with you still on her, braced as you are over her hips, having aimed the syringe true. It's still sticking in her chest. And she reaches up with her hand and she begins stroking your cheek. I thought angels had 8 wings. You are beautiful, is what comes out of her. But in that moment, as she's saying these things, what's happening and what she sees and what Haley has the opportunity to experience is literally the vibrations of the words coming out of her, creating a music that only she can see. The world has slowed down to a crawl. Every second has been stretched into a decade. She's able to feel everything that she is being burned away and purified as nothing else matters. She is cut adrift from this reality in a way that is indescribably beautiful. And as she looks at this bright, resplendent being before her, as she looks into the face of all that is heavenly, the shadows begin moving. Shadows begin crawling over her skin. She can feel this world flying from beneath her. And her thoughts turn to that moment at her 13th birthday party where her cousin and her had 2 minutes of heaven in the closet, where that 2 minutes of heaven became the most excruciating pain she'd ever felt, where her semblance of trust in all things dissipated. Her mind is drawn to that moment in the church basement where her and the deacons played a little game that she was not to tell anybody else about. Her mind is drawn to her first hit where none of that mattered. Her first real deep hit where she lost herself in all of the pain and dark thoughts that had kept her from being the person she wanted to be. Then her mind turns to that moment in the car where she did what she had done so many hundreds of times before and was properly and promptly paid for with a purse. Her first trip out of town with her biology teacher. Her meeting Gerald and entering into the party circuit. Her parents not knowing what's going wrong with her and attempting to throw money at her by sending her to treatment after treatment, all failing. Them threatening to throw her out of the will, throw her out of the house while still supporting her. Making sure that she has the money she needs to survive, and that money growing and growing because all she needed to survive was another hit, which she had other ways of paying for. And that balance of all the pain of her life and all the joy of her life swirling and mixing into a potent blend, the saccharine sweet gets to the point where she can feel it at the back of her mind, pressing down on all that she is. And then nothing. The cold grip of nothing. The world goes white, empty, formless. And there's a so common understanding and a trope that people call a post-nut clarity, that Haley is expecting the come down of it all. But there is no come down. There is just that moment of release, that orgasmic moment of knowing that nothing else can ever hurt you, and that nothing matters, that the past is the present, is the future, and it is all 100% meaningless. And there's a peace in that, because it's only meaningless unless, of course, you choose to ascribe it value. Until you choose to ascribe it one way or the other. And that peace carries its own semblance of happiness, because nothing can hurt you, nothing can harm you, nothing can ever change or steal what joy you decide on. And as the world slowly fades back into existence for Haley, Nikki is able to watch the light die. Nikki is there as the body dies before the mind does. She's staring into that face of that girl. She's too young to have lived as much as she has. She's too young to watch her cease, but there's no way to stop it. And Nikki stares into her face as she ceases to be. And there's a bittersweet pain there dancing on the slight tremble of her lips. There's a sadness that falls over life so short, ending so quickly in such a place as this. But there's also the realization that that girl, that woman is actually at peace. And it's never happened to Nikki before, to be so perfectly balanced with the pain of one's existence and the peace of knowing that none of it could hurt any longer. And as she stares into that face, with Gigi just over her shoulder, experiencing the coolness ripple across this person's flesh, as if in the flash of a light, the blink of an eye, there is no longer a human here. This is just the emptied out husk, this body that is sitting beneath Nikki, still sitting up, the muscles locking into place. It's nothing more than a husk, and she can feel it, that weight disappearing, the warmth of that soul gone in a blink of an eye. And while no one else has caught on that this body is no longer a person, Gigi feels it. While the blood is still running from various other wounds she had that happened when she fell, there's nothing there beneath Nikki except for the empty husk.
It kind of takes a little bit of an effort on Gigi's part not to automatically want to reach out and snag the soul before it gets away. But something about this situation seems entirely wrong, especially how she died. So, since this one wasn't directly her fault, she lets it go. And she kind of steps back and looks at Nikki. And then Haley. Oh.
You've never seen Haley look happier. You've never seen Haley so diaphanous. You've never seen Haley as calm as she is in that moment. When you look across the room and see her sitting there, her eyes glazed over, not slack-jawed, but in awe of whatever it is that they are experiencing.
Yeah, she's kind of melted like butter at the moment. It's nice to experience that much heroin and not die.
That is a problem we need to get rid of right the fuck now. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but you know what? Where the hell's Simon? We'll get him. He'll handle it.
Nikki. Slightly zoned out though you are to watching this happen, watching the lights fade and the warmth vacate. Gigi's voice reaches through that cloud of isolation, through that serenity and inner turmoil happening. Hearing that suggestion, hearing those words, what is it that's happening for Nikki?
Well, when she says, when she said Nikki was beautiful, she was about to say something, but the moment she died and Nikki realized it, well, before she dies, Nikki just said, "Thank you." And she'll, and when she goes, she'll kind of give her a light kiss on the forehead. At least now you know a piece I will. Then she starts cursing in German, because this was not her intention.
There's something sad about humanity. It is a selfish beast. It is a inhumane thing that humanity actually is, because out of sight is often out of mind. In the moment that Nikki and Gigi set about attempting to save this former friend, this former associate, this member of their gathering of, there's no other word to say it, this gathering of addicts, they felt the matter was well in hand, and they went back to partying. They went back to dulling their highs enough that they can keep piling it on. And as Haley is experiencing that splendiferous moment of release, they are nose deep in another pile that has been poured out into the bounteous breast of one of their members. They have went back to pouring out shots. She's gonna need this when she comes back. That's just gonna get her going. Oh my! And they have, oh God, I need to use the bathroom. That scared me so much. And they are completely oblivious to the presence of death that has always been around them, because that is what kindred are. They have managed to ignore all of the signs that is where they exist, where they are comfortable with that threat of death around every corner. They are so inured to what is actually happening and so selfish in their pursuits of pleasure that they don't realize that one of their number is gone. They are so inured and so caught up into their selfish pursuits that even if they did know what has just transpired, you are not sure that most of them would even care.
That pisses Gigi off. Seeing them behave that way when they didn't even know this girl and they attempted to save her, and those assholes just go back to partying. That pisses her off, and she goes closer to them and lets her hold on the shadows loosen.
Oh, dude, a puppet show! Holy shit, this place got everything.
Nikki, I will touch Gigi. I don't think. Besides, this might work to our advantage. At least as rude as it is, they haven't realized that she is not with us.
Is that a lava lamp? Oh my God, my older cousin had one of these. Where's the lamp? Dude, you clearly need to smoke more because you are losing your shit. It's just getting darker. Maybe you need glasses.
It would make moving the body.
Oh, look at that one. That's a fucking wolf. Look.
It's taking everything in her to not have that wolf bite his head off. But hearing Nikki kind of break through it, she physically shudders and then pulls it back.
Oh, dude, where did it? And he crouches down on his knees and then begins crawling under the table, trying to find out what happened. Where is the projector? Why can't I? Where did the puppets go? The others are, some of them are more aware than they should be. You can feel their paranoia, like that was some creepy shit. And to add injury to insult, instead of fearing like they should, they're seeking to numb that third eye that was slightly opening to the realities around them.
Instead, she does a more mundane method of getting their attention, putting her 2 fingers in her mouth and doing that whole whistle thing until they look up. It's time for y'all to go. Now.
We ain't gotta go. Purple Girl said we could come in here.
She's not aware of anything right now, so it's time for y'all to go. Don't make me say it again.
You're not the boss of me, says the girl who is easing closer to the brunette who's now fallen onto her back. And the way that she says it, crouched though she is, you are sure you would bet dollars to donuts and still come out farther ahead than anything that could ever be wagered. You drown in a sea of donuts, that she has every intention of doing some social harm to the corpse. You don't see a Sharpie, you don't see a pen, but you are sure that the way that she's crouched, with her hand half down one side of her pants, that she intends some mischief, some social attack that would give her an elevated state over the corpse. Because she hasn't realized that that party, or that girl, the would-be queen bitch of their group, is no longer living.
Am I close enough to grab her?
Yes.
Gigi grabs her up by her upper arm and all but
Ow,
marches her
let
ass
me
out.
go. What the hell?
Bring her to me.
Let me go. you
Shoving her
bitch.
towards Nikki.
Nikki looked straight in her eyes and took it.
In her zoned out state, in her zonked out moment, there is no reason to even roll. What is it you are attempting to have her forget? Just the last few minutes?
Yeah. Just standard cloud memory.
Okay. Oh God, you're not Carmen. Carmen! And she looks and sees the brunette. Carmen, get up! Girl, come on. I told you that you were a lightweight. You can't do as much as I am. And she begins to try to move. Let me go. Carmen.
Where we have her.
Out.
What? What do you mean you have her? She didn't tell me who. Purple girl. What are these people doing? Oh my God. Wait, how do I get over here?
You are in no condition to do to sleep it off.
That's probably a good idea. But Carmen was my ride. With one of you big strong, and she immediately starts unzipping her sweat top. She's wearing a two-piece jumpsuit that is about a half a season out of date and clearly worn longer than it should. But it's form-fitting enough that shows off that she still has hips, and while not voluptuous, is still in some significance of shape. But luckily for her, her circle of associates don't need the height of anything. Money and willingness is more than enough. And one of the guys eases over. Look, I'll get you home. Carmen clearly ain't gonna be working tonight, so why don't you come with me and we can figure this out? How you gonna pay me back for my gas money? You let her go. Stop being so rough. And as he does that, several of the others, look, this bitch wants us to leave. Hey, purple girl, come on. The parties, we know a spot that's open late.
Why the fuck you keep calling me Purple Girl? That's not my name.
That's what Carmen said your name was.
That's not my fucking name. You don't even know my name. Perhaps the party's over. Everyone get the fuck out.
Hey, don't be like that. Carmen said your
Be
name was
however
Purple
I
Girl.
want. Don't tell me how to be. You just get the fuck out now.
God.
Go.
Fuck this place. Fuck you too. Oh my God. Carmen was right about you. And they begin leaving. And the worst thing is, and the part that adds the injury to this insult, as they're stepping over and stepping past the deceased, Carmen, none of them give a second thought to their friend who associate to their gaggle associate that she's actually not in existence, that they are stepping over a corpse that they believe just had so much that she just passed out. They believe that she's in a full-blown heroin nod. They believe because they don't care. Because there's no mistaking the scent of death. There's no mistaking anything alive for the dead. Humans are programmed for it. Animals are programmed for it. Yet, in their selfish release and adherence to seeking their own pleasure, they blithely and purposefully assume that all is right with the world because there's still more drugs to be had. There's still another place to party. There's still another opportunity to give themselves over to full abandoned release.
Alright, off you go then. Everyone fuck off. We'll take care of her.
Moments later, the moldering corpse of Carmen, still there, her friends gone. The donors who had been on hand prior, giving you all the space. That comes from being one of the elites who have the opportunity of having a full suite to themselves, have not come back. Seems as if your 2.5 hours has elapsed. What is it that you all do?
Having dispersed the crowd, Haley slumps back down into a chair and kind of stares up at the ceiling at someone only so inebriated as she is can do.
There's been nothing more pleasurable in the last few seconds than that ceiling. The secrets of the universe are there, and you know that if you can crack the code, that you will be as high as you've ever been. Seconds turn into minutes as you stare into that elusive, invisible code there on the ceiling. And as Haley finds the underpinnings to the fabric of reality, what is it that Nikki and Gigi are doing?
Well, now that those assholes are gone, what do we do with that? And she points to the body.
Would leave it in the alley. She did. But not near the club, but that would bring her bad. We could take her to a very bad part of town. But that sounds like more trouble than it's worth.
Isn't all of Gary a very bad part of town?
I hate to admit it, but that was correct. I also thought, that tunnel thing's still open, and we know how to get back to it. Maybe we can take it through the tunnels and out that way.
Or we could take her downstairs. But that would not be cleaning up our mess. Your plan is very sound.
I mean, normally I would object and say if she is a person, she deserves better than that, but apparently she was talking shit about me, so fuck her.
Oh yeah, Nikki would have taken us. I'm pretty sure this happens all the time. One does too much partying, and unfortunately, they overdo it.
There's also the fact that supposedly we only had this suite for another 2.5 hours. So we need to find a place to bed down for the morning. And in the course of that, we can get rid of this poor, unfortunate little woman that we have been cursed to have to deal with.
We could rest down there with the others.
So they got like janitors to deal with this sort of thing here.
Would you know whether, because obviously, bad things happen. Sometimes people get overzealous. Would you know what the policy for Soap's Club typically is in this sort of situation?
Typically, Soap would charge a premium, and you all would typically be indebted to her with a boon of some measure for a cleanup service. It would be considerably more based on which member of her team you all managed to get rid of, but it's a matter of monetary recompense typically, especially if it's just some less popular donor, especially if it's someone who is a problem child, then cost could be negotiated. However, seeing that it is under new stewardship, the question becomes and begins and ends with, are you willing to go into debt with Tywin to begin your relationship as members of standing?
Nope. Look at it, Haley. Normally, I say yes, they would, but Tywin is running things now, so who knows how the hell he has things set up? Probably half-assed, and we can't trust that he wouldn't somehow use this to bite us in the ass later. We gonna have to handle this ourselves.
I mean, I didn't kill her, but all right.
Therein lies the crux of it all. How will you all deal with it? You are so aware that there are still construction areas in those tunnels. You're not sure where they were because the path that you all took led to a particular location. You remembering those symbols where they intersect and cross other paths is clear. It's fairly easy for you all back and forth that you've already come. The question is, will you? Do you? You know that the place is clearly safe from the day. You know that it is fairly secluded enough that, well, it's safe enough for the day and safe enough to not be disturbed. After that, it is anyone's bet. It's anyone's guess as to what might or may not happen. And your time is up. And like all good hotels, Salacious, as being run by Tywin, will give you a few moments additional. Even though most of your party's already left, the people who actually have the suite have not. So you have a few moments to make sure that you steal just enough of the shampoo and conditioner to make it worth your while, but not cost them everything. So long as you don't take the microwave and coffee maker, it's understandable.
I mean, all right. Just, drag her out and, bring the needle that you kill her with, and we will leave her in an alley. Junkies die every day. No one's going to look into it too much. She did bloody die of an overdose, so that checks out.
I guess that is their plan. They, between the three of them, maneuver her back down into the tunnels and, using, the symbols. Do we want to take her down one of the other tunnels and hide her in the construction, or are we gonna try to find an alley offshoot somewhere through the tunnels and leave her there and then go back underground for the night?
What are they constructing? Is this a place that she reasonably could have gotten into on her own?
They're constructing other tunnels. They're constructing other access and egresses into this network of tunnels. These unseen pathways in, to, and out of Salacious.
So if they're just building the tunnels for the club, isn't leaving her in the tunnels the same as just leaving her in this room?
Would be.
Because, if that's the case, why would we burden ourselves to lift her? Just leave her there then. That seems easy.
Well, what I mean by construction, they're probably building walls of some sort with bricks and cement that we could possibly hide her behind, but that's just my guess.
I mean, she's probably got a family and all that. It's best for them to have some closure, so I would just leave her on the street somewhere. She had an overdose. You just leave the needle that's got her DNA on her that killed her, and the people will go, oh, look, another dead junkie, and that would be the end of it, right?
Alright, then I guess that's what we're doing. And then, like I said, we'd go use the tunnels and try to find a place that we know for sure to leave her out in and then come back inside.
So you all make it back to the tunnels, back to the place where the presence of Kindred is high. You can feel those angry minds devoid of anything but time and opportunity there. The pain of the world is not one that they've truly experienced. The pain of their own beasts and nothing but time is. So as you all make it back through the tunnels and into the safety of 8113 Lakeshore Drive, something becomes apparent. There's no way that in that few minutes, in those few moments, you covered the almost 6 miles from where Salacious is to the shore of Gary, to one of the posher neighborhoods in all of this poverty. But it is, in fact, where you are. As you exit the basement and take it upstairs into the living spaces, you realize that it is a well-appointed old mansion. The windows papered over and painted over so that no light could get in. But you only realize the address once you open the front door and realize that you have a lawn, an honest to goodness lawn that would be the envy of all the neighbors if there were neighbors. You see across the lawn, just outside of the wrought iron fence, Lakeshore Drive. Not the Lakeshore Drive, but Gary's Lakeshore Drive, known as Millionaire's Row. Even though 1 out of every 3 homes is on the market, though there's no gosh for sale signs. No, it's listed in private, hard to access elite networks. Even though most of the homes, most of the mansions in the area are in fact empty, it is still the area where the former wealth of Gary is on display. It is the area where those who still have money, who didn't immediately flee from Gary, reside. And is the area where, to your backs, you can feel the sun coming up over the lake. And it is clear that the tunnels, for all of their construction and for all of the signs of mundane construction, something else is happening. Something else is being added so that you can cover 6 miles of underground space with little to no time having passed.
Oh God, I kind of figured that's what it was when you said samples. Sorry.
I mean, Haley is high as fuck. None of this is weird to her.
Oh, that is an intriguing puzzle for Gigi. Right now, her main worry is getting rid of this body. They will ponder the rest of it later.
Knowing where you all are approximately in the city, knowing the area of the city that you are in, and as you stand there looking at Lakeshore Drive, you taking the natural curiosity of looking around your area, seeing where on Lakeshore Drive you are, you realize that literally less than 550 feet behind you, across the small bulwark, is Lake Michigan. Literally, you're smack dab between Marquette Park Beach and West Beach. You are a stone's throw, as far as Kindred are concerned, from the deep, deadly waters of Lake Michigan.
Put her there.
That was my thought. If we drop her in there, will she wash up on shore sometime later?
And
I mean, you could, but that smacks of foul play, don't it? I mean, junkies just don't overdose and then fall into the lake.
Or you could just leave her off the mouth of the water.
Right, you just throw her like at the edge of the water, and that would be believable. No one's going to believe that she went out for midnight boating and overdosed and fell off.
All right, then we'll put her at the edge and not in it.
The beauty of poverty and the beauty of money, it is really hard to discern that there's a difference between the two based on behaviors. Having a significant amount of money grants you a certain level of privacy. Having absolutely no money grants you a significant level of privacy. People know to mind their own business. People know that whatever is happening doesn't concern them, but perhaps someone else should look into it. Well, it's not them. Having an extreme amount of money or an extreme amount of poverty grants you the understanding that you see everything and witness nothing. So as you three make your way across the private access to the beach, as you ignore all of the early morning signs that life is soon to happen, and you sit Carmen there at the edge of the water and the sand as if she was making sand castles and playing in the sand, having a moonlit picnic of one. There's something sad about watching the body gently lapped by the waves as you all make your way back to your hidey hole for the day. As you make your way back to the one safe spot you are immediately aware of. The other mansions and homes that you all can see from where you stand, all showing signs of early life, lights coming on, life returning to them as the sky lightens by enough degrees that you know the sun will be here far sooner than anything else. And even though you each have a reason to continue existing, even though each of you have a reason to continue flouting the laws of man and some gods with your assistance, there's a strange peace in the horror of a corpse left on the beach alone that you all know you will never receive. If you screw up your contract, if you screw up your alliance, if you